The news of the day, Hunter Biden got convicted of gun crimes. And first of all, let's cover a couple things here. Hunter Biden got convicted of gun crimes for a couple different reasons. The first reason is Hunter Biden, obviously a criminal. Anyone who's seen the laptop understands that Hunter Biden is into all sorts of crimes, financial crimes, drug crimes, human trafficking crimes. He's a criminal. And while I'm not a criminal, I do understand that being a criminal comes with certain risks. You really don't want to get caught. And if you do get caught, it's important that you don't have evidence of your crimes. Hunter Biden has kind of approached the criminal life in a different way, and that every time Hunter Biden chose to commit crimes, he would take not just pictures, but video of him committing said crimes. And then after taking these videos, he would take his laptop and he would put the video recordings on the laptop. And then after having this laptop with all of your crimes recorded on the laptop, Hunter Biden gets to his laptop one day and says, oh my gosh, I need a firmware update or something or whatever was going on. And so he takes the laptop with all of his crimes on it and he takes it down to a laptop repair shop and he says, hey man, I got this laptop. Can you fix my laptop? But wait, there's more. After recording the crimes, putting the crimes on the laptop, and then taking the laptop down to the computer repair shop, Hunter Biden then just leaves it there. He just kind of forgets about it. And I don't know if you know this, but dry cleaners, laptop repair shops, whatever, they have rules where if you leave something there for a certain amount of time, they get to take possession of it. So again, I'm not a criminal mastermind, I admit that, but in general, it's probably a bad idea to commit all these crimes, record the committing of the crimes, put them on a laptop, and then hand them over to a complete stranger and just walk away. In general, that comes with risks. And look, obviously, today the system is trying to take advantage of this. The system has a credibility crisis. They have a credibility problem. People can see. They understand how evil this government has become. They understand the DOJ is just the arm of the Democrat Party now. They work to arrest and imprison Republicans and get Democrats off scot-free. David Weiss was a special counsel in this case. Do keep in mind before we play this little clip of David Weiss that David Weiss tried to get Hunter Biden off with a slap on the wrist, essentially kind of get him a little wrist slap and blanket immunity, and the deal was so ridiculous, the judge takes a look at it on the day it was supposed to get signed and says, wait, what? No, this is crazy. This is like an immunity deal. David Weiss did everything he could possibly do to get Hunter Biden out of this. But the judge kind of blew all that up, and then David Weiss had to move forward, and today he's out there talking about justice.
No one in this country is above the law. Everyone must be accountable for their actions, even this defendant. However, Hunter Biden should be no more accountable than any other citizen convicted of this same conduct.
Okay. You're going to see a lot of this today. You probably already have seen a lot of this today. Dirty communists running to the television, talking about how this proves our DOJ isn't corrupted. Oh, this proves that we have just a very bipartisan system. There aren't two tiers of justice in this country, which is, of course, ridiculous if you know anything about the background of this case, David Weiss, the FBI conduct, and otherwise. Why do they lie so brazenly, the communists? Why do they? Why do they call abortion reproductive rights? Or why do that? If you're Joe Biden, why get up and talk about jobs in the economy and brag?
We've created a record 15 million jobs since I came to office. There was any president has 15 million.
Why would you do that? Because he says that, and what happens inside of you? When you hear them do this, because they do it all the time, Joe Biden, his advisors will make it about jobs and the economy and inflation right now. They'll get up and say, the jobs are great, man, so many jobs. Woo, inflation going way down. And someone like you hear that and you just, raw, makes your head want to explode. How could they lie like that? Because you know what's happening right now. You're suffering. Everyone is. All the metrics are, honestly, they're not even horrifying. They're sad. Record credit card debt, savings being emptied, interest rates through the roof, people taking out second jobs, extra hours, not able to make ends meet. I got a heartbreaking email from a viewer a couple days ago. It was a man, and the subject of it was, I feel like a failure. And I'll paraphrase the email for you here, and I get many like this. Jesse, we can't make it. We're not making it. My wife has a job just so we can pay the mortgage. She missed a milestone of our new baby. The daycare workers did it. I can't work any more hours. I'm missing everything. We're not making it. And I have stacks and stacks and stacks of emails of people saying, Jesse, we're not making it. Jesse, I'm 65. I was retired. I've got to go back to work. Jesse, help. Jesse, what are we going to do? You know it's bad. I know it's bad. So why, if you're Joe Biden, why would you get up and tell people, this is going gangbusters, baby? Jobs, jobs, jobs. Well, let me explain why. Remember, when the communists speak, they're never, ever, 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 ever speaking to you. Ever. They're not trying to get you. They hate you. And they know, more importantly, that you hate them. They know that you are an informed person. You consume media of various kinds. I'm sure you watch this show. You probably watch other shows. You probably have podcasts, whatever you do. You're on news sites. You understand the news of the day. You're the hyper-informed, hyper-patriotic voter. You are the last person in the world these people are messaging to. So let's set you aside. I always have to remind myself of that. When they say something that makes my blood pressure vein pop out of my skull, I have to remind myself that they're not talking to me. So who are they talking to? If you're Joe Biden, why get up and say that? I mean, he knows it's a lie. I mean, my goodness, Jerome Powell got up, Federal Reserve Chairman, and as diplomatically as possible kind of admitted, these are probably going to be revised.
You have payroll jobs still coming in strong, even though there's an argument that they may be a bit overstated.
A bit overstated. That is a nice way of saying they have lied about virtually every job / CPI / inflation report for the last 3 years, and they've lied through their teeth. They always revise it down a month or two later when nobody's paying attention. We did great, 400,000 jobs this month, woohoo! Couple months later, well, it was actually about 220, but they've done it every single time. They're lying about everything. But again, that doesn't explain the why. Why do they do this? If they're not talking to you, who are they talking to? Well, this is the hard part to accept and understand. A lot of people do not want to be free. That's an idea that you have. That's a very common way of thinking on the American right. I suffer from this as well. When I look at some brain-dead drone repeating these dirty commie talking points, and I say to myself, on top of everything else, what's wrong with you? Don't you want to be free? Don't you want to break free of all that? Get rid of these government chains and media chains. Start thinking for yourself, coming up with your own ideas, questioning authority. Don't you want to be free? And the truth is that person, if they were hooked up to a lie detector test, would look me right in the eye and say, no, I don't want to be free. Many people throughout human history have no desire for freedom. They want safety and security. And they will sacrifice their freedom for the safety and security of just being taken care of. Me, I want to drive what I want to drive. I want to say what I want to say. I want to own and shoot every gun on the planet. I want to be free. I will no longer make the mistake of thinking the guy sitting next to me also does. The guy sitting next to me, your liberal Aunt Peggy, the reason she believes so many lies is her entire life, her religion, her entire worldview revolves around relying on these people to tell her where to go, what to drive, what to say, what language am I supposed to use, what am I not supposed to use. And if I just go along and follow along, then no, I'm not going to be free, but I don't want to be free. I want to be taken care of. The truth is, communists have always understood that there are large portions of every population, not just here in America. They don't have some burning desire for freedom. They have a burning desire for safety and security. So when your liberal Aunt Peggy walks into Thanksgiving running her fat mouth about how great the jobs report is, and you're looking at her just absolutely baffled because you know it's crap, and you think in your mind, she has to know that's a lie, right? She has to know that's a lie. No, you don't understand. You could hold up a piece of paper and show it to her face. These are the jobs numbers. It's a lie. It's a lie. Can't you see that? And she still would refuse to believe, because if she did, if she accepted the truth you were giving her instead of the lies the dirty commies were selling her, if she did that, it wouldn't change how she feels about one story, the jobs. It would shatter her entire life, because her entire life is banking on these people telling her the truth. It would be like you or I waking up one day and being told, finding out, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, that God himself isn't real. Well, wait a minute. I'm 42. I believe in God. Many times as I've failed him, it's everything to my existence. That's why I raise my kids the way I raise my kids. It's why I do that. If God isn't real, well, then my entire 42 years on this planet comes apart, comes crumbling down like a house of cards. If your liberal Aunt Peggy doesn't accept the latest lie she's been told from these people, then her entire life is ruined. And so these people, they not only build up a world of make-believe for themselves, they actually demand their politicians and media people continue to build that world for them. You've seen a new saying, a new phrase over and over and over again out of the left about Donald Trump sending them to camps. I'm worried if Trump gets elected, he's going to send me to a camp. What if I get sent to camps? What if I get sent to a camps? Rachel Maddow said it. AOC went out there and said, Trump's going to send me to camps.
What happens to you if Donald Trump wins? What do you do? What's your first move?
I mean, it sounds nuts, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy threw me in jail. I take him at his word. I take him at his word. I take him at his word when he says that he's going to round up people.
Of course, anyone who knows anything about Trump knows that's ridiculous. He's not some right-wing dictator, Francisco Franco type. Trump's a very moderate Republican, a fairly pragmatic type, a businessman guy, just kind of wanted to do some deals. But they understand they have to pretend like he's Hitler/Mussolini to create that world of make-believe so liberal Aunt Peggy will crawl naked across a mile of broken glass to vote against him. And liberal Aunt Peggy, she wants to live in that world. And you could show her this, what I'm about to show you. You could say to her, Trump's not going to put anyone in a camp. He was just president for 4 years and didn't do anything remotely like that. But Democrats do want to put us in camps, and then you could show her this, and she still wouldn't believe it.
Putting it all back together again after we've gone through this MAGA nightmare and re-educating, basically, which that sounds like a rather a re-education camp. I don't think we really want to call it that. I'm sure we can find another way to phrase it.
Oh, sure, that's the problem, lady. It's the phrasing, not the fact that she thinks you and me need to go to a camp. And you could show all that to liberal Aunt Peggy, and she'll never understand, and she'll never accept it because she doesn't want to be free. In a weird way, she wants to be lied to. And Joe Biden and the dirty commies around him understand that. So when she rolls into your 4th of July party that I'm sure you already have scheduled, and she starts talking about how great the jobs market is, now you'll understand why. Merrick Garland was held in contempt today. It's official. House held Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress. Now let's talk about what this is, and let's talk about what it's not. First, is this a big deal? Well, it depends. I know that's a terrible way to answer that, but just stay with me. Is it a big deal? Well, there's something that you and I are going to have to get used to. We are going to have to get used to living in a different country than the one we have known and the one our parents have known and our grandparents have known. Essentially, the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years in America, it's not going to look anything like the last 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years in America did. Things are changing. They're changing rapidly. And yes, you can argue, oh yeah, they're all bad changes. Okay, I'll give you that. Most of them are bad changes, but things are changing rapidly. We now live in a country where the Republican nominee for president has been wrongly convicted of felonies and might spend Election Day in state prison in New York. That's insane. That's the country we live in now. We live in a country where the son of the President of the United States of America is a convicted felon, and we have documentation from that son's laptop that shows Joe Biden is pretty much the head of a political criminal enterprise designed to enrich himself using his office. That's not normal. Okay, so normal, let's focus on that word. Normal isn't what it used to be. We don't have to go back to ancient history. If we rewound to the year 2000 and we said the Attorney General of the United States of America has been held in contempt of Congress, that would be a big deal. And it's not that what happened today is a small deal, but honestly, are you surprised? This is our politics now. It's all so evil and so corrupt. We have so many bad people fighting oftentimes other bad people. And it's just crazy that we wake up now and the norms have all changed and they will continue to change in ways that I can't see and you can't see. Things are going to get weird, for lack of a better way to put it. Okay, so the Attorney General has been held in contempt of Congress. What happens next? Jim Jordan joined us a while ago, talked about what happens next.
You'd have to have a vote on the floor. And then it goes, and of course, you may wind up in court. You never know how these things play out. I don't think Merrick Garland's suddenly going to, charge himself. I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, so is Merrick Garland going to go to prison? No, don't be ridiculous. Is he going to be removed from office? No, of course not. So don't be hoping for that kind of a pound of flesh, because it's never going to happen. Now that said, let's give credit where it's due. There is good that comes from this. And the House Republicans voting this way, it is good. They did good. Now, what is the good that comes from this? If he's not going to be removed, he's not going to be arrested, then what's the good? Well, Merrick Garland gets to experience pain. And it's important for communists to experience pain because that's all they understand. They're religious zealots. They only understand fear and pain. Being held in contempt of Congress, it is a big enough deal. And it is going to bring about pain and discomfort to Merrick Garland. And because he's an evil piece of communist trash, he deserves that pain. And the next Democrat AG, and the one after him, and the one after him, may just have to consider the pain Merrick is going to go through now before they do their despicable acts. Will it dissuade them? Will they stop? No, probably not. It's going to take arrests for that. Real, tangible pain. But it's something, right? And now let's move past the Merrick Garland thing, because I do have to bring something up. It's going to sound random, but it's really, really not. Speaking about normal, this is along the lines of what's changed and the norms have changed. I want you to picture this moment. I want you to picture John F. Kennedy. All right, we're back in the 1960s. And John F. Kennedy gets up and gives a speech as president. and he threatens the Republicans, anyone who's upset with him, with sending in the 1st Marine Division. He says something along the lines of, oh, you're unhappy with me? I'll send the Marines after you. It's bonkers, right? It's not something you would ever see from a Democrat or a Republican. Historically, that's not done. The president doesn't look at the American military and think, gosh, I could kill a lot of Republicans with that, or a lot of Democrats with that. However, this line that Joe Biden pulled out yesterday, it is not a one-off. This is a line that Joe Biden has used some version of repeatedly. Eric Swalwell has used it. Media members have used it time and time and time again now. It has become part of the Democrat language that they threaten us with military force.
And by the way, if they want to think to take on government, if we get out of line, which they're talking again about, well, guess what? They need F-15s. They don't need a rifle.
So why is that something that they come up with so often? Why would that come out of their mouths? Eric Swalwell threatened to drop nuclear weapons on American people. You can't take on the government. We've got nukes. Joe Biden, all of them every day. Yeah, good luck. We've got F-35s. Why does that come out of their mouths? Because they think about it. Remember, the great story on the planet right now is Western governments turning their guns inward against their own citizens. The people who run Western society, most definitely America, they don't lay awake at night stressing and straining about ISIS or Russia or China or the border or inflation or any of these things. What really drives these people crazy, what bothers them, is what holds them back from taking total power. And that is you, the American citizen who wants to drive what he wants to drive, he wants to own all the guns he wants to say what he wants to say. When these people sit around at their cocktail parties behind closed doors and they talk about who the real problem is, they always come up with you. And communists believe in using power. They always have. You get power, you use power to gain more power. So a communist like Joe Biden and all the Democrats around him, they take power and they look at the United States military, all those bombs, bullets, planes, and they think to themselves, I bet I could hurt Republicans with that. This saying, this phrasing, we'll send F-35s, it constantly comes out of their mouths because they've thought about it. These people don't sit around thinking about Russia. And gosh, they probably should, because Vladimir Putin has nuclear-powered warships parked miles, less than 100 miles off the American shore. As we speak in Cuba, Putin sent a big boy Navy down there. Of course, they're calling it for exercises. They're doing exercises. Well, we do, quote, exercises too. You know why countries do exercises like that? It's always a threat. It's always a flex. Hey, just doing some exercises over here. Just letting you know we're here. And I told you this is coming last week. We are authorizing U.S. weapons to be used inside of Russia's borders. Do you understand what an escalation that is? Do you understand that that is forcing Vladimir Putin to respond in kind? Hate Vladimir Putin all you want. I certainly do. He is able to remain leader of Russia because he sells himself as the strong man protector of Russia. That's how he sells himself. He cannot allow American weapons to kill Russians inside of his border without a response. He can't. And now we have submarines that have cruise missiles on them, Russian cruise missiles, parked off of our shore. Do I think Vladimir Putin's about to launch a nuclear attack on America? No, I do not. Do I know that? No, I don't know that. I don't know that. Do I need to remind you that during the Cuban Missile Crisis, a Russian sub commander, the commander captain of the boat. He ordered his nuclear weapons, a nuclear-tipped torpedo, he ordered it to be deployed. That happened. Did you know that? By the grace of God, his crew, his second in command and his crew overruled and overwhelmed him, and it didn't happen. We have been that close to nuclear war because of situations just like this. These idiots, these morons we have in charge of the country, we're going to get a lot of people killed, man. I saw so many people on the right, so many people, normal people, good people, looking at what's happening in our nation's capital, to our historic monuments, and saying, how did they get away with this? Oh, so you can do whatever you want to an American flag, but these people are just allowed to do this? Oh, so you can't peacefully protest January 6th, but these people are allowed to do this? Pointing out the hypocrisy. That's conservatism in general, pointing out hypocrisy. So let's set aside the nursery rhyme stuff and let's talk in reality. Why are these people allowed to do this? By the way, spoiler alert, there were no arrests. All that vandalism, all that property destruction, there were no arrests. Why do they get to do this? And we're not just making it about them. Why do the communist street animals in this country get away with the things they get away with? Whether it's Black Lives Matter, Luton Foot Locker, Antifa, the Hamas ones, the climate changes, the feminists, doesn't matter who it is, the Pride Parade people. Why do they get away with it? How could they get away with this? Well, listen, here's the truth. We like to think about our country. I like to think about our country in lofty terms because I love my country. I love freedom. I love America. I love the life this country has given to people. I love it. But we can get way too lofty with how we think about things we love, like America. Here is the truth, the God's honest truth. You need protection. You need protection. Let's pause on America for a moment. I'm going to go all over the place today. Just stay with me. In Russia, after the Soviet Union fell, this is after communism fell, they had a disastrous time over there trying to implement capitalism, not really capitalism. What do we do here? But I was reading this fascinating tale one time about a businessman. And he was talking about why he hadn't been arrested, but his buddy had been arrested. Now, these are straight up businessmen, not criminals. And he was having a very matter-of-fact conversation, and he simply said, well, he didn't have a protector. You see, the guy who didn't get arrested, he had found some rough, tough KGB types, and everyone knew if anything happened to this guy, these types would step in. His other buddy, he was above all that. I'm not paying any money to those KGB types. He's in Russian prison. The other guy is not. Here in America, the American communist has spent decades and a fortune. He's spent decades of time and a fortune worth of money building for himself a protection network that gives the street animals the freedom to walk into places like Washington, D.C., L.A., New York City, you name it, and act like the animals they are. It comes from politicians. It comes from judges. It comes from all over the place. You remember when Gabrielle Cuccia came on the show and she said this?
Everyone started flooding all of the perimeter, everyone popping out of their tents, making sure that they have numbers written on their forearm. I'll tell you, since I spent so much time there, these numbers that were written on the forearm, I'd spent the time with them. They didn't know I was part of Drano Media. They befriended me. They asked me, oh, do you have the Northwest Community Bail Fund number? And I was, excuse me? Do you have the number? If you get any escalated law enforcement that you have interaction with, you will, bail will be set at $1,000, of which you will only have to pay 10% of that, which means I only have to pay $100 of a get out of free jail card from the Northwest Community Bail Fund.
What? Who's behind that? There are rich people in America and in foreign lands who are funding the destruction of this country in a million different ways. It's not just that they own CNN. They have they have a spider web of networks underneath them, left-wing dark money networks that set up things like bail funds for the street animals. That's one part of the protection network, the elites, the billionaires on top the ones who actually pay a lot of these people to be here. There's a reason you see a lot of the same faces at the Antifa rally as you did at the Black Lives Matter rally. That doesn't make sense. Okay, so you have the money. That's part of the protection network. Another part of the protection network is communists took over the justice system in this country by taking over the law schools. Took over the law schools, then you get to make the lawyers. Or when you make the lawyers, you make the judges. And when you make the judges, you make the law. You ever heard of Matthew Graves? He's an attorney, U.S. attorney out of D.C. Name probably sounds familiar. Matthew Graves, he's the one who has been taking January 6 protesters and overcharging all of them and ruining lives, sending them all to federal prison. He's also the one whose wife, Fatima Goss Graves, has checked into the White House and met with the Bidens over a dozen times in just the last 3 years. Are you starting to pick up on the network yet? What am I bringing up Matthew Graves for? Because a police officer in D.C. was socked in the face last month. Matthew Graves made sure the person got 48 hours of community service. So the Meemaw who sauntered through the Capitol has her life ruined. She's sitting in federal prison today. If you punched a Capitol police officer or a D.C. police officer in the face, 48 hours of community service. How does this happen? Why? Well, they've spent decades creating protection networks like Matthew Graves. And notice how I said he met with the Bidens? There's another part of this. You got the billionaires, you have the judges, the DAs, and then the politicians themselves. You see, Chuck Schumer is the Senate Majority Leader. That's a really, 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 really big deal. And Chuck Schumer doesn't stand up and do what so many Republicans do, look down his nose at all the right-wingers on the street as if they're a bunch of uneducated rubes. Chuck Schumer understands he has an army underneath him. They will do as they're told. And so when Chuck Schumer gets up to give speeches, he lets the street animals know, hey, guys, we got your back. Go reap the whirlwind for somebody.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
And right after that, someone tried to assassinate Brett Kavanaugh. Now, that's all the bad news. That's what they have. That's why they get away with it. I do have some good news for you, and believe me, it is good news if we would just embrace it. It wouldn't take much to destroy this network. If we had Republicans with guts, if we had people with the willpower to attack it, no more live and let live with the dirty street commies. Freedom must be aggressively maintained. If we actually developed an aggressive mentality, you would watch these organizations, these billionaires disappear, their influence disappear. Start attacking the money of these billionaires, attacking their companies, dragging them into court, arresting them, antitrust stuff. The street animals, you wouldn't have to do very much. You don't have to do anything violent, anything against the law. Arrest every one of them, automatic 10-year prison sentence for violating our statutes, and you'll never, ever, ever see another one. The truth is, the communists who are destroying so much in this country, yes, they are dangerous, they're damaging, there's no question about it, but it's paper thin. It's just a tiny, tiny percentage of our society doing this, and if we would just find the courage to attack it, we could save the United States of America. You know that El Salvador was the murder capital of the world, certainly the murder capital of Latin America, like 15 minutes ago. And now it's the safest place in Latin America, probably the safest place in the Western Hemisphere, just numbers-wise. How could that possibly happen? Tucker Carlson sat down with their president. Here's how it happened.
We basically, in the roll-up of Phase 6, we basically pacified the country in a couple of weeks.
How do you do that? How do you pacify a country?
Well, the phases included building up of the police forces, the army. We doubled the army. We literally doubled the army to fight crime, to use the army to fight crime. And we equipped them before, like soldiers, we didn't have useful guns or vehicles. drones, basic things that an operation of that magnitude will need. So, yeah, we roll up the faces and then we went after them.
We went after them. They gathered up all their dirt balls. Wasn't a high percentage of the country. Again, it's always just a tiny percentage. Gathered them all up, tossed them in cages. Now, you can saunter down the streets in El Salvador at midnight with your girl without a care in the world. We could do it here. All it takes is guts. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right.